come home. Well, I'm a honky-tonk man, and I can't seem to stop. Love to give the girls the world to the music of an old jukebox. And when my money's all gone, I'm telephone singing, hey, hey, mama, can your daddy come home? Hey, now a pretty little girl and a jug of wine. Well, that's what it takes to make a honky-tonk town. Jukebox moaning those honky-tonk sounds. But I can't wait to lay my money down. 'Cause I'm a honky-tonk man, and I can't seem to stop. Love to give the girls the world to the music of an old jukebox. When my money's all gone, I'm telephone singing, hey, hey, mama, can your daddy come home? I'm a honky-tonk man, and I can't seem to stop. Love to give the girls the world to the music of an old jukebox. When my money's all gone, I'm telephone singing, hey, hey, mama, can your daddy come home?
Deep within my heart lies a melody, a song of old San Antonio, where in dreams I live with memory, beneath the stars all alone. It was there I found beside the Alamo, enchantment strange as the blue up above, a moonlit path that only she would know. Still hear my broken song of love. Moon in all your splendor, know only my heart. Call back my rose, rose of San Antone. Lips so sweet and tender, like petals falling apart. Speak once again of my love, my own broken dreams, empty words I know. Still live in my heart all alone, in that moonlit path beside the Alamo, and rose, my rose of San Antone. like petals falling apart. Speak once again of my love, my own old broken dreams, empty words I know still live in my heart all alone. In that moonlit path beside the Alamo, enrolls my rose of San Antone.
Woo! Yes! Oh, yay! I like the applause for we're just here. Yay! Welcome to Grown Up Storytime 182. Welcome. I'm Blair.
And I'm Amanda, and that's Emily, and that's John, and woo! And we are co-producers of Grown Up Storytime, and we're so excited that you, the audience, is here because you are a very key component to this lovely evening we have ahead of us of just gathering around a campfire and cozying up with some stories. So you have your program, and on the back, we have some fun things, such as the next story deadline is July 1st by 5 p.m., sorta. You can always be a little bit late. But what this means is any of you can be a writer. You're the audience now. How many of you, this is your first time here? Oh, yeah! That's amazing. So whether it's your first time here or your 10th time here, you can always be a writer. So pay attention to that deadline here. You can email your stories in. We love stories. It doesn't matter if you're like, I'm not sure if that's a story yet. We love looking at almost stories, pre-formed stories, seeing how to bring it to the stage up here. And then the next step is to pair it up with a reader, which I'll let Blair talk a little bit about.
Yeah, so at that same deadline, well, shortly afterwards, around 7 o'clock, when we're reading through those stories that were just sort of submitted on time, those people who are in that room, that's where we're able to hear your voice, hear how you might show up for a particular story, and that's usually how we cast the grown-up story. That's how we're doing it now. So if you have never been a reader before, or if you have been a reader in the past and you're like, man, it'd be cool to do that again, please come to the party. It's how we see you. It's how we remember you exist. Thank you. Thank you.
And exciting reminder to the readers and the writers that are here in the room tonight, the cash is here now. And in case you didn't hear that, you just now audiences, the cash is here for the readers and the writers. So what we're saying is, if you submit a story or if you are reading, you get paid. So yeah, do it. And I think that's one of the things I really love about Grown Up Storytime is just it's so approachable, so open to entry. Anyone can be up here reading. Anyone can submit a story, and that's how I got involved, and it's just amazing. And it's live theater, so this room.
Oh, yes, the discipline time. Remember that in live theater, unlike your cozy, we're not going to get so cozy at home that we forget that there are other people around us. So definitely we can hear you. It is a rock club, and it is not necessarily made for spoken word, so just keep it together. Or if you can't, there's a whole patio outside for shenanigans. And on the way to the patio is the restroom. So all the shenanigans out there, story time in here. Bartender, there, do get drinks, do tip. You may, yes, move about the cabin, but respectfully. And are those all the things?
Well, one more thing. We have merch, and it'd be cool, and we'd be trying to sell it. So come and get your merch. It is deeply discounted, I believe.
It's almost at free $99.
Almost
there. Get something and take it away and give it a home. Thank you.
Yes. And we have friends. Check them out on the back. There's fun events such as Horny Talk, and also a thing we're doing called Grown-Up Storylines that's coming up. So yeah, look at the back of the program. But without further ado, there's the front of the program, and Blair, who's our host.
Oh, our host. This is the time. Yes. Y'all, we got you a special one. I'm really excited. They have not hosted for us since 2017, which is a actual life crime that I am sorry we all participated in. We will not do that again. We're going to bring up one of the best poets, best performers, best just fun spirits of Houston. Let's bring T to the stage.
Y'all see those handshakes? Pretty pro, huh? Thank y'all so much for being here tonight. Give it up for Grown Up Storytime. Yeah. Grown Up Storytime's been around since I was in college. It's fun fact. I used to date Emily Hines' old roommate when I was very young and not yet a grown-up. But as you can see now, I'm very grown-up in my grown-up jacket, my big grown-up coat, and I have a grown-up beer over there. Anyway, and I used to, don't tell anyone, I would get snuck into Rudyard's to come before I turned 21, back when it was at Rudyard's, so, ooh, boo, right? That's bad, as a bad boy. So it was a lot of fun. So I've been coming to the show, I've been a fan of it since, I don't know, 2011, 2012? Somewhere around there, so long time. So I'm really happy to be back here tonight, and I have some friends reading, so it's very special. And I'm glad to see all of your dark, amorphous faces. You're all beautiful, and I love you. So you're welcome. All right, let's get this thing rolling. First up, we have a reflection on what it means and feels like, and all of the trials and tribulations of a first crush. Give it up for your first crush, everyone. Yeah, first crushes. All right, our first story is called Letter to Erin Kinda. It's written by Taylor Kent, and it's read by Jada F. Smith.
I'm going to tell you this so I don't have to think about it nor bother my all-too-patient boyfriend about it anymore. I cannot stop thinking about my ex-boyfriend from high school. I'm 25 years old now, and he is constantly on my mind. The problem isn't that I think about him in a romantic way. The problem is that I never did. We started out as strangers, but with the basic connection of being part of a small group of Black people within our high school drama club. It was so easy to become friendly with him. I thought he was funny, smart, and so incredibly driven. When it came to acting, it was crystal clear he was probably the best in the entire club. And as an artist myself, I craved building that connection with him. I understand a lot of teens are seen as hard to read or sneaky, but I by no means was able to hide how much I looked up to Erin. I didn't even try. I was weird girl, and not in a cute way that can be seen through the lenses of a coming-of-age film, but weird like my mom doesn't let me watch SpongeBob, so I never developed properly to acclimate with the rest of my peers. Weird. By the way, my mom actually did let me watch SpongeBob, so I have no idea how I ended up this way. All that to say, I would have done anything to maintain my friendship with him. So when he asked me to be his girlfriend, I only saw one choice. We dated for maybe 4 months, and then Erin dumped me. During that time, I did what I was raised to do. Make the person I look up to most happy by doing what I was told and not talking back. When he asked me to sit on his lap during a club meeting, I did that. When he explained to me why it was wrong to pretend to laugh along to racist jokes told by our peers, which we obviously took offense to, I listened intently. That last part is something I still carry with me to this day. I can no longer pity laugh at any joke I find unfunny anymore. But that was never a problem for Aaron. He was the funniest person I knew at the time. I did everything I was supposed to and genuinely learned more about myself. After the breakup, I hope the relationship was brief enough to transition back into friendship easily, but he pretty much ignored me until he graduated. Fast forward to the COVID era. He reached back out to me apologizing for the way things went in high school. For me, it was water under the bridge. We both agreed being in a romantic relationship was never for us, and we reconnected like hardly any time had passed. I was so happy to have him back in my life, and he was so supportive of me wanting to become a comic book artist, and I was so excited for his process towards becoming a Broadway actor. We talked and hung out constantly. We even got to the point of planning logistics for me to visit him when he left back to New York. During that same conversation, he let me know he wanted us to try dating again. Fuck. My heart sank into my ass. I was coming up with every excuse in the book. The long distance, us having tried in high school, and most importantly, me not wanting him romantically at all. He took it on the chin like a champ and told me he could see us getting married. In that moment, I laughed a bit, but what I wish I could have said is, Aaron, if you could truly see me being your wife, then that means on some level, you love me. And I love you so much. I loved you so much that I would have done anything to keep us in each other's lives. But I've already made that sacrifice before, and it's your turn now. I'm asking you to make the same sacrifice, just in a different way, so that we can still be in each other's lives. You're my best friend. And if I could sacrifice that to be your romantic partner, then you can sacrifice being my romantic partner to be my best friend. It's only fair.
My heart fell into my ass is my new favorite phrase. I'm gonna be using it quite a bit, so get ready. Get ready, everyone. Thank you so much. That story was written by Taylor Kent and read by Jada F. Smith wonderfully. Just got me reminiscing on my high school crushes and the fact that I had a high school boyfriend who I would not have intercourse with, and so he crafted a dildo in theater shop class out of wood and asked if he could use it on me, and I'm not going to tell you what I said. Or did, or how I lost my penetrative V card. So I'll just leave that in your grown-up minds to think about. Next up, we have a story called The Marina. It's written by Lauren Anderson and read by Sara Sofia.
The Marina in Galveston was never beautiful. Not in the way the upper class defines beauty. It reeked of salt water, diesel gas. The waves of the Gulf of Mexico often broke and eroded the docks. Everywhere I stepped with my bare feet, I felt the stab of rusted nails and broken shells. Burrweed clung onto my socks, leaving red pinpricks on my youthful skin. See, I would have to pluck them out after every day I spent outside with growing annoyance. It was almost as if the land wanted to repel people. The marina was worn, like the bones of an old man who had lived through hardships but refused to fall onto societal pressures that valued glass towers over rusted boats. That old man was my grandpa. He loved the marina like no other, and because of my admiration for him, I loved it too. Even with his presence being incomplete, it would never be absent. If the marina remained, so did he. This was my grandpa's sanctuary. He chose the marina lifestyle over Houston's bright skyline. See, he would often brag about the tales of his youth, and one of those being how he had the most prestigious role at one of downtown Houston's fanciest banks. His freedom and pride meant more to him than his salary. He was my inspiration. Give him Goodwill shirts, give him oil-stained jeans, give him gruesome boat work in Texas' scorching hot sun. You give him something real. That's what gave him life. When I visited the marina with my grandpa, I stayed on the boat that he had built, piece by piece. After we read our bedtime story, Blueberries for Sal, I would sleep in his oversized tee that fell to my knees, letting the motion of the waves just rock me to sleep. And in the morning, I would wake up to the sound of him making breakfast and coffee. I'd leap out of the leather couch to follow him on his daily activities. The sounds of seagulls greeted me as I grabbed one of his hands and stepped off the boat onto the dock while he tugged on the rough rope, letting me down gently. The big rusted shed where they met every morning to discuss their boat projects smelled like burnt cigarettes and freshly brewed black coffee. The people at the marina were just like him. Men with skin like leather. With hands like sandpaper. Always holding a cold beer. They were merely getting by, but they seemed fulfilled. As a young girl who loved tutus and pink, I walked in and they welcomed me with open arms. They made me feel like part of the group. This shed was a second home to many, and it soon felt like one of mine too. As the days with him went on, even at such a young age, I felt his impact that even he was too humble to even acknowledge. I saw as I followed him on his daily boat tasks with admirable eyes. He made friends everywhere, and he only ever attracted the best in others. I felt proud to be his granddaughter. And he also flaunted that I was his favorite granddaughter too. Just like how he would ask for my report cards to boast my small achievements to his friends in the marina. He'd go on and he'd tell them that I'm his favorite granddaughter, knowing that I'm the only one. But regardless, I was honored to be his favorite granddaughter, whom he loved immensely. On the marina, there was this small hidden beach that not many knew about. I will never forget this one sunny day. my grandpa and I went on an adventure after he bought me a new scooter from Goodwill. My stomach bubbled with excitement as I rode down the hot pavement, and my grandpa was content with his cold beer and smoky cigarette. He watched me with a smile, happy to see how joyful I was. This is when we found the small beach. I collected seashells that were like gold to me, even though there was trash washed up all over shore. I found it beautiful. I saw beauty in everything, just as I saw beauty in him. It's as if my grandpa and the Marina mirrored each other. As many know, time changes things. It's awful bittersweet. What was once my grandpa's sanctuary is different after his passing. As developers are remodeling it, it's hard to watch his legacy fade away. I'd like to think that he would appreciate the place he loved getting so much love as it deserved. In saying that, it will never replace what once was. I miss the rust, the mess, the people, and most of all, watching my grandpa get out of his boat hatch every morning to peruse what he loved most. Not what the world told him to do. I keep him here. The Marina. He is in the water, in the scent of the salty air. He is in the rich aroma of my morning coffee. He is in the smile that I get as I drive over the Galveston Causeway. He is the reason I do what I love. He is my hope and inspiration, which never leaves my heart. In his final days, he was still true to his character. The last thing he said to me was that I was his favorite granddaughter and that he loved me so much. His impact he left on his favorite granddaughter is immortal. Now, it's safe to say that he was my favorite grandpa too. I hope to one day find my Marina, and I am forever grateful that he showed me his. Thank you.
That was the Marina, written by Lauren Anderson and read by Sara Sofia. Yes, give it up for them again. So what's really cool about Grown Up Storytime is that it takes stories to make it happen, right? And so people have to write those stories so that they can be paired up with really cool readers to read those stories. And unlike a lot of storytelling shows where you come up and you perform your own story, you don't have to be a performer in order to participate. So if writing is more your bag or you have something you really want to express, Grown Up Storytime wants to hear it. There is an email that you can send your stories to, and it is grownupstorytimehouston@gmail.com. And you can send in a story, and like they said, it can be a story that's in progress, it can be something that you're working on. But if you have a story and you want to share it, this is a great place to do it. It's a warm audience, as you can all see. Thank you for your warmth. Yeah, y'all are. Y'all are hot, okay? And so it's a lot of fun. And if you're interested in reading, come to Grown Up Storytime. Introduce yourself to these organizers and let them know that you would love to be reading a story, because that's how it works. So it's really a special thing that happens in our city, and I'm grateful that it is here. And I'm grateful to be guiding you through this night. So thank you for having me. All right, next up, this reader is a friend of mine. It's gonna be a special one. Another reflection on loss and grief. This one is called The Wrong One Died. It's written by Shiv O'Rourke and read by John Gremillion.
The day my mother died, I was sitting in Spanish class. Second floor, afternoon. I don't remember the lesson, but I remember the knock. It wasn't loud, just a tap on the door. The kind that says, "This is official, this is serious, this is real." My teacher paused mid-sentence, opened it, and nodded. And then she said my name. Just my name. No smile, not, "Can you come here, sweetie?" Just the way grown-ups say your name when they're about to rearrange your life. I stood up. I didn't ask why. I didn't grab my bag. I just started walking. The hallway felt a mile long. You ever walk towards something and you already know what's at the end? I saw him, my father, standing just outside the main office, in the middle of a school day, not supposed to be there, and I knew. Not because he looked broken, not because anyone said anything, but because I had been waiting for this moment my entire life. Only, I always thought it would be him. I used to pray every day that my dad wouldn't die. Step on a crack, break your mother's back, but I flipped it. I used it to protect him. Every sidewalk became a spell. I whispered Hail Marys and Our Fathers on repeat like a rosary girl with a gambler's heart, just hoping the odds would shift in our favor. My father was an alcoholic, volatile, unstable. He should have died 100 different ways, and every time he didn't, I believed I had something to do with it. That's how powerful I thought I was. That's how scared I was. But when the call came, it wasn't about him. It was about her. My mother. The good one. The soft one. The one I hadn't been praying for because I thought she was safe. And in that moment, everything I believed about the world collapsed. Not just the grief, the math. There's a kind of math we all do in our heads, the kind that says, if I do this, then that won't happen. It's not logical, it's emotional, spiritual, an ancient form of cause and effect we inherit without ever being taught. I thought if I carried the fear, I'd be spared the loss. I thought if I anticipated it enough, I could avoid it. I thought if I paid it forward in anxiety, the universe wouldn't ask me for more. I was wrong. I'd spent so many years bracing for my father to die that I didn't leave any room for reality to surprise me. And when the wrong one died, when it was my mother, not my father, it didn't just hurt, it broke something in me. Not just grief, not just longing, but logic. The math stopped working. The deal I thought I had with God or fate or whatever force I'd been bargaining with, it evaporated. And what was left? Silence. And the man I had been trying to save. You want to know the worst part? He lived. My father, the man who raged and vanished and reappeared, who broke things and people and promises, he got more time. He got my time. And it wasn't redemption. It wasn't some great turning point where he healed and transformed and became the man I'd been trying to save. It was just years of not dying, years of surviving, like some people do. And that's when I started asking questions I didn't know how to answer. Why do some people live longer than they should? Why do good people die young? What is survival actually proof of? Because it's not proof of goodness, and it's not proof of love. Sometimes it's just proof of momentum. Sometimes people who carry the most damage are also the ones who refuse to go down because they've made themselves into wreckage that floats. And the ones who carry everyone else, they're too tired to swim. My mom wasn't perfect. She was tired, stretched thin, trying to be everything to everyone while losing pieces of herself along the way. But she was kind. She was the one who rubbed Vicks on my chest when I was sick, the one who knew my favorite cereal, the one whose perfume lived in the couch cushions for weeks after she was gone. And maybe, just maybe, she's the one who whispered this story into form. Maybe I've spent the last year untangling my father's lineage only to hear her voice say, "That chapter's done, baby. Turn the page. I've been here the whole time." After she died, I kept walking home from school. Same sidewalk, same cracks, same prayers. But they meant something different now. Not a shield, not a bargain. More like a ritual for someone who wasn't there anymore. Because grief doesn't stop just because the loss already happened. Grief wants repetition. It wants routine. It wants to walk the same path and see if maybe, just maybe, it will end differently this time. It doesn't. But we walk it anyway. For a long time, I kept wondering if I'd caused it. Not in the magical thinking way, but in the guilt born of love way. Like maybe I focused on the wrong person. Maybe I should have prayed for her. Maybe I should have seen something coming. Maybe if I'd been better, faster, smarter, more. But that's the lie we tell ourselves when the world breaks and we need a reason. The truth, I didn't cause her death. I just felt the cost of it more deeply than anyone could explain. Here's what I know now. I was never really praying for my father. Not really. I was praying that I wouldn't be left with him. That I wouldn't be alone in the wreckage. That I wouldn't have to carry it all without her. Because she was the soft place, the translator, the tether. And when she left, the wreckage didn't get smaller, it got quieter. Like it knew it had won. And now, all this time later, I wonder, maybe she never really left at all. Maybe she stepped back long enough for me to walk through the wreckage and come out the other side. Maybe she was waiting for me to be ready. And maybe this is the moment she's been holding space for. That's enough, baby. You did it. Now come home to me. I've been here the whole time. Thank you.
That was beautiful. In the poetry world, we snap, and I want to ask everyone to snap for this line because it slayed me was that sometimes the ones who carry everyone else are the ones who are too tired to swim. Ugh. Beautiful, beautiful job, Shiv. Thank you for submitting that story, and thank you, John. So as a reminder, there is some really cool grown-up storytime merch here. I was eyeing it. I'm gonna try it on for you so you can see it. Thank you for that. Thank you. I haven't modeled in a long time. I appreciate it. Okay, who's ready for a little bit of comedy? Huh? Who's ready for a comedy of errors? Huh? All right. Next up, we have a story called New World. It's written by Clare Miklaunus and read by Tess Vergult.
Australia. It was never a place that I longed to go to, nor had I thought very long about it. It wasn't in my psyche, only my periphery. It was very beautiful and looked, smelled, and felt similar to coastal California in many ways. The eucalyptus groves, the arid rocky terrain, the deep, clear cobalt sky. It was winter there when we arrived in July, which felt like late September in California, home. Like California's beautiful twin, but I was in love with the former and would never betray her. It had been 9 months since I had been home to California, let alone the continent of North America, and my melancholy, though I fought it, was palpable. I had landed my first professional ballet job at the age of 17 and promptly moved to England to begin my career. Not unlike your high school's best athlete, I peaked early, though I was still considered a late bloomer physically. By the time the English National Ballet had begun preparing for our final tour of the season, something glimmered like a silver lining from my social life during this interim. A number of extras had been hired for our month-long Australian tour. These extra dancers were all younger, closer to my own age. Yet even still, I was the youngest by a year or more. I became fast friends with many of them and was thrilled to room with a sweet Canadian girl named Kristen. There was another flash of hope which caught my eye, Nikki. Nikki was hotter than hell. A 5'9" English-Italian stallion. And I fucking burned for this guy. The only problem was that I was shyer than shit and couldn't even manage a hi in passing. But gradually, some of us formed a small clique. We began spending more and more time together, and Nikki was part of this group with me. As a whole, we were a silly bunch, and I quickly found myself coming out of my shell more than I had the entire 9 months I had spent with the English National Ballet, especially with Nikki. One night, after a week in Sydney and another in Melbourne, we finally arrived in beautiful Brisbane, the Golden Coast of Australia. It also happened to be the night before Nikki's 20th birthday. And after some pre-game drinking for the guys, we all decided to go swimming in the ocean beneath the light of the full moon. Before we left, Kristen shaved her coochie, which I thought was a bit strange. Why would you need to do all that for a swim in the dark, I asked. She explained that we'd probably be skinny dipping, and I slowly began to panic. Just keep your underwear on, she yelled from the bathroom. So I threw on a pair of full coverage briefs that I found in the boys section at Gap Kids years ago. Yep, they had trains on them. In comparison, Kristen's lavender thong had a teensy patch of fabric and sequins in the shape of a butterfly as the entire coochie cover. And so, in that state, off we went to meet the boys at the beach. Once on shore, we all stripped and ran into the ocean. With every wave, we dipped our heads into the ocean, and the guys dipped their heads lower and lower. By the third wave, Kristen was squealing and laughing. By the fifth wave, Nikki popped his head back up. You kept your underwear on, he asked. Yeah, why? I asked, playing dumb. Because we're skinny dipping, he yelled just before he dunked his head beneath the waves once again, and I felt him brush my hips and legs. The following morning, I found out from Kristen that Nikki had been too drunk from the night before to attend his mandatory class. Well, this simply would not do in my book. Kristen and I made our way to the boys' hotel room, and I banged loudly on the door. Our sweet friend Jonathan opened the door, and I pushed my way through. "Where is he?" I demanded. Jonathan put a finger up to his lips to signal me to be quiet. Then he signaled the gesture of sleeping. I nodded and assured him I would keep it down, then walked straight to the bedroom where I found Nikki fast asleep, face down on the far edge of the bed. The hotel room shut behind me, and we were alone, just the two of us. I carefully took my shoes off at the foot of the bed, then paused. I couldn't just lay beside him. No, that would be too creepy. I wanted so desperately to touch him, but how? Then I had a thought. I'm a silly girl, a goofball, a clown. And we were clowns together, Nikki and I. That's what drew us to one another. That and raw sexual desire. And with that, I lay myself directly on top of him, closed my eyes, and sighed. It felt nice for about 2 seconds before I heard his muffled, groggy voice yell, "What the fuck, man? I'm sleeping. Get off of me." I immediately rolled myself off of him. I apologized, explaining I thought it would be a funny thing to do, as he turned over and rubbed his eyes. "Oh, it's you," he wheezed as he blinked his eyes open. "What were you trying to do? Wait, we haven't even kissed. Wait, aren't you a virgin? Wait, you're 17. What are the statutory rape laws and where are we? Brisbane, Australia? You're American. I'm English." I sat at the edge of the bed, simply mortified, as he spewed this torrent of thoughts. This was not what I intended at all. I told him, of course I wasn't trying to rape him. And that I took my shoes off because I didn't want to get the bed dirty, as though taking off one's shoes had anything to do with the act of rape. No, he sighed. I would be raping you. He tried to explain through a hangover haze. I helplessly asked him if that's what he's into. No, he barked. Then he tried to explain statutory rape to me as he looked for his pants. I could feel the tears welling in my eyes. "Where are you going?" I could hear Nikki yell from the bedroom, but I was already out of there. I heard the hotel room door slam behind me, and I felt the burning tears begin down my sad clown face as I ran back to the safety of my own room. Kristen suggested I just act cool, act mature, like you don't care so much. I still think it was the best advice she could offer me. I just nodded and followed her out the door on the following day of the unintentional, uncommitted, non-existent rape. Kristen spotted our group on the gorgeous Golden Beach. The Gold Coast of Australia was very much accurately named. I sat on the end next to Kristen as to avoid eye contact with Nikki. At some point, someone asked if I wanted to go into the ocean, and I declined, saying I just liked to be peaceful or some bullshit like that. That's when we all caught sight of her, Louisa, coming out of the water in a white bikini with her goggles and snorkel still on her face, like that James Bond ultra pussy character. I already felt like an idiot from the day before, and I was being forced to watch the power of full feminine sexuality and womanhood before me in my makeshift leotard turned swimsuit and board shorts, like it was an episode of 90210. Well, Kristen interrupted this scene playing before us matter-of-factly, and as she hopped up and brushed the sand off her butt. She informed me that she was going for a walk down the beach and invited me to join her, though for some reason I declined, perhaps for some vestige of hope that my predicament would change. As I turned my attention back towards the shoreline, my eyes fell on Nikki, shaking out his dark, wet hair and beginning to make a straight path back towards me. "Just be cool, Claire. Just be fucking chill," I muttered to myself. I mean, really, what did I have to lose at this point? My dignity was trashed, my hopes dashed. I could just play my goofy, silly self as I always had intended now. I steadied my gaze on the horizon, just as Nikki lay his glistening body down beside me, and I dug my fingers deep into the sand in a feeble attempt at self-restraint from the urge to straddle him for a second time in 24 hours, this time with him face up. He sunbathed for a few seconds as I burned uncontrollably. Perhaps I was finally blooming. I could sense Nicky looking at me, and I side-eyed him. Hey, he finally broke the silence. Yeah, I offered. Your eyes are really green, he blurted. I think they're blue, actually. He smirked. Okay, blue-green then. Okay, I smirked back. See, I love this, he offered. Can we please go back to this? I want to be friends. He practically pleaded. This stung. He reminded me of what I already knew, that I was still only 17, and now he was an elderly 20. That I would be leaving the tour to start my new job in Houston in just a few days. I'd have a new life there, a whole career with friends and boyfriends, and yeah, sure, I smiled, as I could feel my eyes begin to burn from salt water again. Sure we can, I repeated, as I watched Kristen return from her stroll as though she were picking up her younger sister from an awkward first date. And this time, I hopped up to walk back to the hotel with her, leaving Nicky to enjoy his glorious afternoon at the beach. Our group playing in the ocean now in the distance. They would fade from my mind with time, I told myself. During the interim that followed before I flew home, I attempted to be a good little bunhead, going to class each morning, doing my crutches and planks on the floor of our hotel room, eating cans of tuna for strength. Not in the hotel room, though. My God, could you imagine the smell? And my dear adopted older sister, Kristen, found ways to distract me by simply reminding me of the incredible place we were so privileged to be visiting. We went to a casino where the girls squirreled me inside, while our girl Paula, a real bad bitch, chatted up the security guard and bouncer. We all went to the Australian equivalent of a Six Flags theme park, got diabolically jacked on sugar in all forms or wasted on beer, then rode all the wildest roller coasters. We laughed until we ached, and privately, I hope Nicky was aching even remotely as much as I was. Over the years, I bloomed, then died so many times. I fell in love and then into hate or into apathy. I learned to live without my friends and family and my beloved California. I found new beloveds, slivers of hope amidst the hopeless in the interim. Thank you.
Wow, just so many thoughts and reflections I have from that story. Wasn't Nicky so cogent when he woke up hungover to say, like, whoa, what are the statutory rape laws? How old are you? Like, what a guy. I'd have a crush on him too. An inappropriate crush that we couldn't act on. That's really cool. Also, I just want to say to the reader, Claire, don't worry. I'm a big fan of full coverage underwear. I like to call them big old sloppy panties. All right? And that's what I'm about, okay? So that's fine. I'm glad yours had trains. All righty. Has anyone ever here give a big, woo, that's me, if you've ever kept a secret? You bad bitches. Yeah. Shh. This next story. Shh. This next story is called Secret Cat. Meow. And it is written by Kari Kron and read by Meredith Nudo.
How many of you have kept a secret from your parents? Why did you do that? You knew what you were doing was bad. Then why do it? To avoid punishment, shame, convenience? Let's face it, we all do this. Your parents don't need to know every detail of your life. But when do these concealments become a problem? Sometimes an inconsequential secret can become much more challenging to keep than it would be to divulge. It's important to reevaluate your secrets every once in a while and see if it is the right time to share. Let me give you an example of when my strategic disclosure caused me all sorts of mayhem. The secret I kept from my parents for over 2.5 years is my cat, Zuka. That's right. From around September 2011 until July of 2014, I neglected to tell my parents that I had a cat. This was while I was living in an apartment across the street from my college. I didn't have a roommate, but I did have a boyfriend who lived in the apartment-style dorms on the other side of campus. We'd been dating for a while, and he invited me on a road trip to Kansas to meet his family. We were driving past a farm one day when I saw a sign. Free kittens. It said, we should go pet them, I said. If we end up with a cat, it's yours, he said. Next thing you know, I had a cat. I named her Zuka. Now, there are a number of reasons I didn't want to tell my parents about my cat back then. They were very invested in my grades, and I didn't want them to think I was spending too much time on a pet. I already got enough flack for all the clubs I was in. My dad is a lawyer, and my lease clearly said no pets. Felt like he would be disappointed. My mom didn't think I would end up with that boy, so she would have been very judgmental and critical of me getting a pet with him. I have always been allergic to cats, and I didn't need their judgment, so I didn't tell them. I told my friends not to post pictures of my new kitten, and this is where the elaborate dance begins. It was easy to not tell my parents about the cat. It's not like they would expect me to do something so silly and unthought through. Therefore, they would not flat out ask me if I had one. I did end up breaking up with my boyfriend, and for a while the cat was back and forth between our equally non-cat apartments like the child of a broken home. Fortunately, it wasn't the worst of breakups, so we were still friends, and this wasn't a problem. We both still remembered our conversation about whose cat this was, so everything was fine. The trouble comes in when you consider that my parents only lived about 40 minutes away from my college. We still had pizza together for lunch every Sunday, which also wasn't a problem until one fateful winter. There was a lot of snow, but my mom still decided to come to Golden so we could get pizza. I can't remember where Dad was, but it was just the two of us, and it was more dinner than lunch this time. The snow started coming down a bit harder. For those of you who haven't dealt with heavy snow, it's a bit like heavy rain. You can't really see. It's rather slick and dangerous, and people make bad choices about driving in it. So, after dinner, my mom started driving home. I went back to my apartment, which was only about 2 minutes up the road from the pizza place. Maybe 15 minutes later, I get a call from my mom. It's snowing pretty badly in this direction. I think I'm going to come back and spend the night with you on your couch. Oh, aren't you almost halfway home? Not quite, and I think the storm is in this direction. She's a meteorologist, so she's probably correct. Might have even checked a radar. Okay, see you in about 15. Yes, maybe 20 because of the snow. She hung up. I called my ex. He wasn't home, but I was welcome to bring the kitten over. Only trouble would be the locked door. I decided to take Zuka there anyway. I grabbed the litter box, her toys, and in her carrier and went out to the car. Drove to my ex's place, maybe 5 minutes up the street, went around to the back of the complex, removed the screen on his back window, and climbed in. I had actually broken into his window before, so I knew it would work. It sounds worse when retelling than it was. Anyway, I unlocked the front door, brought the secret cat in, set her up, put back the screen on the window, and left back to my place. Mom got there maybe 5 minutes later and avoided knowing about the cat. Another close call was when the landlord came by and I hid Zuka's things in the closet and her in a chest of drawers. Thank goodness she is a quiet cat most of the time. After college, I moved back in with my parents for a little while I worked at my dad's law firm. During this time, my ex was back in Kansas for the summer holiday, but he was still paying to leave his things in the apartment like storage with a guarantee of staying there the next semester. So I left Zuka there as well. Several of us knew how to break into the back window at this point, and she was a secret all my friends both knew about and loved. She's a sweet cat. So I and my friends would check in on her frequently and play with her. Then I finally got a job in Houston and needed to move out here. My parents were helping with the move, so we all drove out together. After moving, and I admit this is probably the craziest part of the story, my parents flew home, And a week later, I secretly flew home, hung out with my friends, and flew my cat back to Houston with me without telling my parents I was there at all. Now, why did I do this? At this point, I had eliminated or proved false 4 of the 5 reasons for not telling my parents. But then how do you tell them you've been keeping this secret for the last 2 years? Also, by this point, I had told my older sister, and she was now goading me to never tell my parents so that one day, when Mom called her wondering why I was so distraught, she could say, "Oh yeah, Carrie's cat that she's had for the last 15 years just died." Where was the line? This cat wasn't relevant to my parents' lives. I was taking care of her. I kept a clean enough house that my father, who is also allergic to cats, didn't seem to have a noticeable problem visiting. Telling them or not telling them wasn't going to change the fact that I got the cat. But because I hadn't told them, I went to great lengths to continue the secret. I got nervous. If I told them now, would they be disappointed in me for keeping it from them? Would they feel like I was driving a wedge between our familial bonds? But I took a moment to reevaluate my secret. Was it worth keeping? Would my parents ever visit my house and see the cat? Yes. Would it be better to lie outright and say I had just gotten her in Texas? Easier, maybe, but better? No. I didn't want to actually lie. So at our first family vacation that year, my sister and I let the cat out of the bag and told my parents about Zuka. And it was underwhelming. They weren't even upset. The moral of this story is, you never know when the thing you've been stressing out over for the last several years will be no big deal. Trust yourself, and don't do things you're too embarrassed to tell people about.
Wow. A secret cat, the worst betrayal. Right? I can't think of a deeper cut. So there's somebody here that we need to shout out, and it is our bartender, who I hope you're tipping generously. Everyone, on the count of 3, I want you to say, "Thanks, Jake." 1, 2, 3. Oh, are you blushing over there? I can't. Yeah, he is. Yeah, I think we just made someone's night. Okay, but do tip him. Actual money will make his night, not just saying thank you. So please do that. We're so lucky to be able to do this here at the Continental Club, which is really cool. It's really cool to read stories in a rock and roll club. I think it is. Yeah. Very, very good. Okay, so moving on from our secret cat, next up we have a story called Forgetfulness, written by Andrew Kozma and read by my dear friend Peter Zama.
Forgetfulness by Andrew Kozma. The worst things that happened in my life, I don't really remember. I live in the present and always have. Put a few months between me and trauma, and it isn't even really a memory anymore, but a tragedy that happened to someone else. And that other person, who definitely is not me, can get worked up about it if they want. Give me a shot of whiskey. Let's have dessert. I'm done. At least I say that I'm done. I broke up a 10-year relationship 6 years ago, and the wounds are long scarred over. But there are songs that I use to reinfect myself with grief when I want to cry, to recall the sharpness of pain, like a knife cutting something heart-shaped from my chest. Relevant songs are Manchester Orchestra's The Gold, with the lines, "You believed you loved me," and "Lose your faith in me." And the Mystery Skulls, Endlessly, with the line, "I won't let them take you away from me." I recommend the songs, but they probably won't break you like they break me. The actual breakup was terrible. Not because of fighting, we never really fought. Not because of messiness. We were civil, everything divided equally. We didn't want to hurt each other. It was terrible because it was 10 years long, and it fizzled, and we became strangers. We remained friends from the start. We worked hard to remain friends. We tortured ourselves to remain friends. We remained friends so successfully that friendship was all that was left. Those storms of emotion that usually happen in the process of breaking up, they never broke. Instead, it was numbness. I forgot what it felt like to be in the dying throes of it, to feel a sort of bodily hopelessness that kept me in bed for hours, for an entire day, just imagining possible futures and then refusing to imagine them. Now it's in songs where those emotions live. Do I want to rip my heart out at the loss of something I lost forever? I play one of those songs that unlock the feelings and drown in loneliness and despair and nostalgia and the realization that what is broken remains broken, even if you glue it back together. Then the song ends, and so does my sadness. In the same way, I only truly experience the devastating loss of my father's death when I write about it in poems, and then read those poems to an audience and have to keep my voice steady and hold back tears, reciting words I'd written to intellectually understand his death. This meant that in the midst of a launch party of a book mostly about my father's death, reading poems to friends and strangers alike, suddenly his death finally made sense to me. It was real. It was unbearable. It was a hole I couldn't fill and definitely didn't want to try to fill on stage in front of people I was supposed to be entertaining. My father died when I was 24. It's been 25 years since then. Almost half my life was spent with my dad alive, yet my memories of him are gone. Maybe I never really had any. If you live with somebody all of your life, do you need memories of them? You don't need to remember when you can just go downstairs or join them for lunch or play soccer with them on Sundays. You don't need to remember what is and what always has been a part of your life. When he was gone, after the funeral, people would ask me if I was all right. I do a mental check for where grief should be. And where grief should have been, there was just a blank space waiting to be filled. So I told those kind people, yes, I'm all right. I put my dad's death into poems. I put my sense of loss into poems. I put my half-emptied life into poems. I read those poems to a crowd of people, and the poems turned back into the feelings that I'd hidden, those feelings I'd forgotten. I cried. They cried. And then I went on with my life.
Thank you so much. All right, we have come to the final story of the night, but before we bring you this final story, just a reminder, if you are interested in writing a story yourself and having it read up here by a fabulous reader, you can visit grownupstorytime at Houston, grownupstorytimehouston at gmail.com. Don't send it to grownupstorytime in any other city. They won't get it here. So grownupstorytimehouston at gmail.com. You're going to want to check that out. One more thing I'm going to plug just for myself. I am a catastrophic core artist, the Catastrophic Theater. Do you know the Catastrophic Theater? Go, woo! Yeah. So we have a brand new season we're about to announce in July. And we do all of our shows at the Match, which is right up the road. So if you're not following the Catastrophic Theater on these socials, I'm going to want you to do that for me, all right? So that you can come and see these fantastic shows. It's a really important thing to me, and they're a good friend of Grown Up Storytime at Catastrophic Theater. We have a lot of our core artists who come and read here and do stuff, and it's right down the road. So just wanted to ping that in your mind. Also, my friend Andrew here, Andrew Witt, is the main head curator and host of the Orange Show's The Happening, which is, it is a monthly performance art showcase. Andrew and I are booking it through the rest of the year. It's the last Friday of every month. It's at 6:30 p.m. and it's at the Orange Show campus. And I would like to see all of you there. So you can go follow it at _thingshappen on Instagram. Or you can find it on the Orange Show's Instagram and social media. Cool. So we have one more story for all of you. Thank you so much. You've been an incredible audience, and it's been so much fun to be here with you tonight. Our last story is International Travels, written by Sarah Yates and read by Sara Rehman. Whoa!
Good morning. I just want to say I lost my dad recently, so all the grief stories have hit me right here, and I'm feeling it. And grief is very real, and grief is honest, and it is transformative. So I want to thank Grown Up Storytime for having me here to read and for it being a transformative space that it is. Now I'm going to tell you a story. The first time I took a plane ride by myself, I was 12 years old, and my mother walked me to the gate with tears in her eyes as if she would never see me again. This, of course, was a month before September 11th, and moms were allowed to walk their children to the gate. On my third or fourth flight by myself, I flew from Dallas to Korea. This was the night before my 15th birthday, and I was visiting my uncle, who is stationed in South Korea with the US military. This was my first time traveling internationally, and the first time I'd ever been on a flight lasting longer than 2 hours. The woman who sat to my left on the flight did not speak to me, but strangely imitated me and mimicked my behavior throughout this flight. If I tried slipping on my arms folded on the tray table in front of me, she slept with her arms folded on the tray table in front of her. If I was watching the movie on the overhead televisions, she watched the movie in front of her. If I was watching the movie on the overhead television, she watched the movie in front of her. Yes, this was 2004. The only accessible televisions were attached to the ceilings, and everyone on the plane watched the same film. I'm pretty sure she even ordered the same snacks that I did from the flight attendants throughout the flight. For 12 hours, this woman mimicked what I was doing. Me, being the well-traveled young woman that I was, just went along with it. What did I care that this woman wanted to do everything I did? If anything, it was a compliment. The man sitting to the right of me on the flight was a different situation entirely. I don't remember what he looked like other than he was a middle-aged Caucasian man with red hair, a ginger. I do remember his hands being vividly sported with the yin-yang symbols the size of silver dollars. Now, this was the early 2000s, and yin-yang symbols were so cool. Yin-yang symbols were everywhere. I remember this man's tattoos because he was journaling throughout the entirety of our flight. I'm sure he had wonderful things to say about me, and the fascinating things to say about the mimic and queen who sat to my left. I wonder to this day whether or not he had taken his first trip to Korea, or if he had just gotten those hand tattoos on a trip he had taken previously, and the iconic symbol was more than just a phase to him. I like to believe that he booked a one-way flight and was meeting his long-distance lover who also had yin-yang tattoos. Upon landing in Korea, I had asked several US military members in different parts of the airport if they knew my uncle, as I had not been given clear instructions as to where I would find him upon landing. Going to instruct customs as a newly 15-year-old by myself, as a first-time international travel was wild. Spoiler alert, no one knew who I asked knew my uncle or where to even find him. I did, however, find my uncle to meet beyond the baggage claim at the international travels, which in hindsight is the perfect spot to meet someone who had just arrived. We then traveled back to my uncle's apartment on a base where we connected with my aunt and cousin who were also there to visit my uncle. Two hilariously adventurous things happened during my 2-week stint in East Asia. Listen in. One was during a weekend trip in Beijing where we discovered an American bar with a speakeasy back closet full of any DVD that you could want. The 6-by-6-foot closet was a floor-to-ceiling DVDs. Have you ever seen that? It's pretty fascinating. There's some in Brooklyn too, by the way. They were all $1, and most of which were films currently in theater in the United States. This was a jackpot. Again, this was in 2004, which was over a decade before streaming devices and services became widely accessible. And if you wanted to watch something specifically, you needed to have a physical copy of this film. And boy, did this little adventure expand my DVD collection immensely. Did I leave with $40 worth of films? Yes, I did. Did some of these films turn out to just be recordings of films from someone sitting in the theater? Yes, they did. It was a risk I was willing to take to bring back all of these new releases to my home in Texas. I was going to be so impressive to all of my friends. During my trip, I had gotten a $2 copy of Usher's newly debuted Confessions double disc expanded edition CD, which is still in my possession. This collection of DVDs leads me to the second hilarious adventure. Listen in. On one of my last days in Korea, my uncle went to work, which left me and my cousin to watch a marathon of said stolen films in the entertainment room of his apartment building. This was a large room with huge TV, comfy couch, pool table, and lots of space for a group of people to hang out. This particular day was midweek in the middle of October 2004, and for 8 days or so, my cousin and I watched back-to-back movies neither of us had seen. Pretty cool. The juicy part of this story is when we decided to watch a scary movie once the sun was down and we could watch the film in utter darkness. Of our selection of probably 2 scary films to choose from, we decided on The Ring. I had seen this film, but my cousin had not. I assured her that it was not too scary and it would be an enjoyable, spooky film for us to watch, to see in the dark. She agreed on the choice and we began watching the film. It's on. Unfortunately for us, while sitting on the couch with our backs turned away from the entrance of the room, a poor soul decided to enter the door. This poor soul was probably opening the door to play a game of pool or to turn the TV on to watch his or her weekly sports game or guilty pleasure nighttime drama. Unfortunately for the poor soul opening the door, they did not get to play their game of pool or to watch that guilty pleasure nighttime drama, which is Grey's Anatomy for me. The door creaked open just as the spooky girl, Samara Morgan, if you may know her, who had died in a well and started crawling out the television. She crawled out of the television in the scene and proceeded to attack one of the main characters of the film in his living room. The timing of the opening door with the scene was so perfect because to us, we didn't even get to the man being attacked in the film. To us, she was crawling out of her television to attack us. The shrieks that protruded out of the 2 teenage girls who had taken over the entertainment room were probably anything unlike anything that sweet soul had ever encountered. We had never been more scared in our lives. We each crawled up on top of the couch and clutched onto each other, hoping and praying that each of us were safe from both of the scary ring girl and the person who had entered the room to kill us. Thankfully, whoever opened the door immediately closed the door. They were probably spooked by our screams, just as much as we were spooked by them. And if anything, they were probably annoyed with someone that was taking up their valuable entertainment free room time. In the end, No teenagers were harmed during this particular viewing of The Ring in 2004. The flight home included sitting in the middle of row with a family of 5. Far less dramatic. Thank you.
Yeah, keep it going for all our readers and writers tonight. Woo! Yes, this has been so fun. All right, before I relinquish my hosting duties and my hosting power, which the biggest power you have as a host is asking people to do things in unison for you. And so I'm going to ask you now to turn to the person next to you. Go ahead, turn to them. And I want you to repeat after me. I'm a grown-up. And I just story-timed. Now shake their hand firmly. There you go. Beautiful job. We're all grown-ups and we just story-timed. All right, this happens the what Tuesday of every month? Third Tuesday of every month. Y'all already know it. This was 182. We'll see you at 183. Have a great night. Tip your bartender.